Now it got real.
Okay. Okay, welcome back to the No Boring Stories podcast. I am Alex Street, and of course, this is the place where there are no boring stories. Thankfully, today we've got a couple people that make sure that not a single day goes by with a sense of boredom. Well, maybe you could feel bored, but you're not telling a boring story, that's for sure. And so we've got Shannon and Stephanie here with us today. Shannon, say hi.
Hey.
Stephanie.
Good morning, everybody.
Shannon and Stephanie Lombard, how are you two doing today?
Well, thank you for asking.
Yeah, now that we whisked the kids off to school, half asleep with a sandwich and foil in their hand, like, why are we leaving so early? What do you mean before school care? What is that?
You're like, we got important stuff to do today.
We got stuff to do.
We gotta go, guys.
We are podcasters.
We're podcasters.
Come on, you can tell all your friends. This is first thing.
Yeah.
My parents are important. That's what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Yes.
They got a vlog set up. You should see it.
Yeah, exactly. Stacks on. I think they're using my Xbox box to stack their phone on top, but they're doing big things today. Okay, so look, first things first, I gotta ask who you said. I asked like who's one of the best storytellers out there, and you said Tim Story.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't know this. I don't know who this is. So tell me about Tim.
God. Well, let us gift you by sending you a link.
Yeah.
To get you connected. Tim Story is an incredible storyteller, and he's inspirational through every message that he shares. We've seen him live on several occasions. Yeah. We've been on, social media and watched him live. He likes to get on live and share. Yeah. He's been one of Oprah Winfrey's life coaches. And so being in the presence of Tim and listening to him tell his story kind of changes your perspective on life.
He's the guy that makes you want to run through a brick wall. Like, there's no questions asked. I know I can do that. You know what I mean?
Is that because he shares stories about, running through a brick wall? Is it that sort of a thing where you hear him talk about it and you're like, well, I can do it too? Is that the sense that you get?
That's such a great question. Yeah. No, he doesn't talk about running through brick walls, funny enough. However, he talks about the obstacles in life, the things that could have kept somebody down if they have like this, he never calls it a victim mentality, but the way I interpret it is as if you've got this victim mentality, you may never get ahead in life. But when you take these like golden moments in life where somebody speaks life into your situation, you have an opportunity to do something great with it. And he talks about those moments in his life where people have poured into him,
right?
He's been able to pour back.
Yeah, well, and that's what I mean, right? So you end up feeling like, oh my goodness, I need to respect that conversation that happened 3 years ago and finally do something about it. Or like as he's speaking, you think back into your story, or you're looking for those moments now. And that's what I'm getting at is like, as he describes the story, you leave, and Shannon, you're like, you can run through a brick wall. And it's because 100%. He's just proven that it's possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, it's funny that you even bring it up like so soon. I mean, we'll eventually talk about it, but he is the reason why we wrote the book.
Love it. Spoiler. Honestly. Here we go.
Yeah.
This is where we're headed.
Yeah.
There is going to be a tie.
We'll talk about it for sure.
A bow at the end of this story that we will tie together.
Plus, I mean, with the last name Story, like your destiny is set.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I thought I was going to be homeless because last name is Street, so I'm just going to my that's such a terrible joke. My mother-in-law though sometimes will talk when she's taking care of our kids. She'll tell her friend, she's like, "Yeah, I'm taking care of the street kids today," and they're like, "Oh, what a caring woman." She's like, "No, my grandkids."
Bless your heart.
Bless. So. Maybe we should start a foundation for our kids. Maybe maybe that's a terrible idea. Let's get into the good stuff here. Tell us about that. You said, I mean, you just sort of set the table for us. You wrote a book.
Yeah.
But what is it? I mean, there's a book out there right now, and the two of you right now are doing, you're setting up kind of the steps to go forward. You're helping people now. What is it that you're doing? What's the main work that you're bringing to the world?
At the end of the day, there's certain things that you go through in life, right? And I always equate this thing. It's kind of funny. Our kid sitter was here last night with us, and we hadn't seen her in a while. And she's going through a nursing program, and she's been a nurse for 16 years now. And she's going through nursing program, and she's actually got like this one patient specifically that she's with all the time. And he's got a multitude of medical challenges that he's dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just like kind of talking about the things that she's doing with him,
Yeah.
And it's, by the time she finished talking, it was like, hey, it's like, that's like the difference between reading it in a book and experiencing it, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how often do you have like this certain type of education behind you, but then it's not until you apply it and you go through that experience that you're like, oh my gosh, like they didn't talk about this stuff in the book. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. So she's learned it. She's book smart, but now she's in the game. She's experiencing it. And
which we like to call street smart. Right? Because you got book smarts, you got street smarts, right? Like there's
that's going to be my hashtag now as well. To go
there you go.
Street kids and
street kids, street smart. We're giving you all of them today. Alex.
I got to do something like that. Yeah,
we're here for it.
Stick with me. That needs to be an IGTV series or something like that. Street smart.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
So we went through that like
he's writing it down.
Yeah, he's writing it down. Yeah, just put it on the whiteboard right behind you.
Yeah, right.
Street
smarts.
So we're going to change the title of the podcast now. That's what it's going to be.
There we go.
You just formed that.
I love it.
Okay, so you go through this experience. What does that have to do with what you do now and what is it?
So the experience that I went through personally, and she went through because of me, is battling through post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, as well as acute depression and anxiety, right? So it's like, oh, sweet.
Yeah.
3 life sentences. Woohoo.
So, okay. So hold on. So what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
I want to get really clear on just like straight up, like, what's the thing? What's the now? And we'll get into where this all comes from and what feeds all into it. But just like, what is it now that the thing?
So
like
now,
how do you help?
Now it's like, I'm not afraid to go back to go help those that were where we were at one time in our life. Does that make sense? Like
so what is that
strength that, now it's just like, hey, I know exactly where you are. I know that you're struggling in your marriage. I know that, you can't even get up out of bed. I know that you can't even get off the couch. Like, let me show you what what we did together to get past that. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
To get a clear understanding on
I think my take on it from my perspective is,
because she's way better than me.
Well, it's helping somebody who's willing to be helped is really where it's at. Okay.
Come on.
So if you're going through this transitional period of, you've been at this peak place in your life, mental well-being, greatest job, you got the degree you wanted, X, Y, and Z, and then life is not where you anticipated it to be anymore. You go through this severe dip.
Yeah. You look great on paper.
And you're like, okay, so I'm down here and I don't want to stay here anymore. And you want to get back up, but you don't know how. That's where we come in.
Yeah.
We'll show you the path.
And get them to what?
Assist.
And what, like, what's that impact? What,
mental
where
wellness.
do people, mental wellness.
How do we get you to where you feel good again, Alex? How do we help you? What do you want in your life? Let's pinpoint your goal. Okay. That's number one. And what's your time frame? We got to create that because you probably don't know how quickly you want to get there. And let's show you a mapped out plan with very practical everyday life tools to make that happen in your life. Right. And that's going to require your active participation. So let us give you the tools we have available to you. And that's through this. The book is just our story. And it's a great place to be thought-provoking and start conversations around the subject.
Yeah.
But the e-course and the coaching programs is really the practical application of knowledge. And so how do we help somebody get out of that place where they don't want to stay?
So, I mean, it's amazing. The mission is incredible. And I know you guys, but so this is, and I know what your mission is, and I know how you're doing this.
Yeah.
And so here you are, right? So if like picture reading a story, and we're on the today we're on the last page, the last written page so far. There's more pages to be written. But if I were to read that page, then I would see you guys and I would see that this is what you're doing now. You are helping people who want to be helped to reach their idea of mental wellness. To feel good again.
Exactly.
And if that happens, then what? What are they capable of?
Oh man. Then what we did wasn't in vain. Number one, like what we went through wasn't in vain. And they can now go and recognize other people that might be struggling and help them.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is helping to destigmatize mental illness and mental wellness. Because we talk about physical health, like you got to go to the gym, got to work out, you got to eat clean, you got to X, Y, and Z if you want to be in this peak place in your life physically.
Yeah.
But if you leave out that mental part, you can achieve all these things, but never feel that satisfaction that you should, because you don't allow yourself permission. You're not in a good place mentally. And so you can't enjoy it like you should. And life is something we should enjoy and we should be encouraging each other with. So I think this is a great place because we can share our story.
Yeah.
And it can trigger something that somebody thinks about where, gosh, I really want to feel better in this area or do this.
Well, that's what's so interesting, because I look at people who are helping others specifically through their mental towards mental wellness. And I guess a question is it, do you have to have experienced that? Experience that dip that you're talking about in order to truly help people through it?
That's such
what do you
good
think?
question. Can I answer?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Please.
But then I want you to tag.
No, go ahead.
That dip is not going to look the same for one person standing next to the other. That dip can be, I'm just not happy with this new job I just took.
Right.
How do I get myself out of this?
Yeah.
That dip could be, I just went through a divorce. That dip could be, I just experienced a crazy traumatic accident.
Yeah.
Or it could look like so many different things for so many different people. And it doesn't even have to be quote unquote extreme. But the way somebody personalizes a situation, it could be a dip to them. Do they have to go through an extreme dip? No, they don't. But they just might be in a place where they're like, yeah, things, on paper look great, but they're not great in my mind, or they're not great at home, or they're not great when you close the door. And so that's really where we're meeting people at.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So that's where, so where does this begin? And so if you're at this point of like, this is what I want to do, this is where I'm at now, is helping people feel good. Really. I mean, if it comes that, is it fair to say it just really comes down to that? Can you feel good?
Yeah. It's pretty simple.
So where does that idea, that feeling, if that's how you feel now, or you're like, look, there's this at my best, on my best days, my good, like, this is how I feel, or I know that it's at least possible for me right now. Like, this is the desire right now. Bring me back. Where does that begin for you to, I mean, like as kids, was there this desire to I just don't ever feel good? Was there a sense that like, I don't know where I belong? Why does everything bad happen to me? Like, what was that like for you to kind of growing up? And then how does that develop into who you are now? That's really, really where we're going to go for the next little while here. Well, so it's taking me back early.
Honestly, like it was the exact opposite. Honestly, it was the exact opposite. I had an unbelievable childhood, right? Like my childhood was amazing. My parents are still together. right? After 42 years, 41 years now, right?
Brilliant.
Yeah, they're going on 42, right? Her parents are still together. Our grandparents were together till, you know, the day they died. My grandparents are going on, what's this year? 70 years. They just hit it. Yeah, they just hit 70 a couple of days ago.
It's magic.
Right? So I grew up in an unbelievable household, right?
Yeah.
And
like
at the same
fun,
time,
like joy, was that it? Like it was just like,
yes.
When you have over 40 first cousins.
Yeah, I've got 40 first cousins, like plus, you know, like legit. Hey, Alex, like we all know each other. We go to we grew up together. Like I didn't have friends because it was all family.
That's beautiful. You got to hold on to that. You're like, I don't have friends. I have family. No,
I have family. Yeah, literally. Yeah. There's 11 on my mom's side and 9 on my dad's side. Everybody had 2 or 3. Multiplied. Incredible. You know? So that was my upbringing. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, was that support as well? Was it just it's a party all the time? Or was it also if I've got something that I need to talk through, I know who to go to?
Yeah. It was definitely that. Joey. Yeah, it was definitely that too. I mean, I also equated to being raised by wolves, right? Because like it was my grandpa, and then there was 7 boys, right? My dad being one of them, you know? So like if Christmas, if your grades, you already know, like your grades always came right before Christmas. You're like, why? Why do my grades come before Christmas? You know, wait till after the break. You know what I'm saying?
Don't they know?
Don't they know, dude? Right? So it was like
Christmas morning depends on what letter is there. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. 100%. Right. So it's like, I'm either, you know, it's going to either be a fun Christmas or it's going to be interesting. And I mean, it was not just me, like all of us went through it. Right. It was like literally one by one, like going into the wolves den, you know, every last one of us. It's like
pack mentality, but also like you're on your own and and 100%. We'll take care of you. Like it's okay. So that's the growing up. And then what, like, just bring me in a little bit here. And then I want to hear what Stephanie's kind of upbringing was like a little bit, but like, where does that begin to shift for you?
It didn't shift. It didn't shift until I was literally at my peak.
Yeah. Honestly. Age, like general age.
No, just imagine this, dude. Imagine having one goal in mind and achieving that goal at 27 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. And literally being like, I'm set for the rest of my life, you know? And every single step that I took to get there was just like, boom, 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 you know?
Like easy or
easy
because you worked for it. Like, you know what I mean? Is there a difference there?
Yeah, it was easy because I put myself in the positions to really go for what I wanted, you know? Like that's how we come together right now. It's like, you know, we'll talk about, you know, our current situation, but it's like, if you want it, dude, you just got to go for it, man. Like, period. And that's how I was raised. Yeah. And, you know, so like,
now, was that because there's only so much pizza at the table? So if you don't go for it fast, then you're not going to get it.
like
there's 40 other people here.
Pepperoni. Yeah, they only ordered 1 pepperoni and the rest were like deluxe. Like, I hate deluxe. Like, I have to get to the table.
You're Kevin McAllister. I get it. Home Alone. Okay, so then before we shift here, what was that goal?
Yeah. So I became a professional firefighter. I was a professional firefighter at 27 years old, you know? Like, I'm done, bro. You know? Like, I literally felt like it was the equivalent of getting drafted into the NHL, the NBA, and the NFL all at the same time. Like 100%.
And what was it about fighting fires that you wanted to do?
It was, man,
or being a firefighter.
It was 2 things. Okay. And there's selfish reasons. Eventually it was because I help people, right? That was eventually, I'm going to be 100%. Right? It's like, oh, okay, cool. I get to break this because I'm helping you. Perfect. Right. I want to break it first. Yeah. That was me. Yeah.
This is the running through walls. This is
exactly.
I'm going to run through the brick wall to help you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's something to it.
It's 2 things. It's like the ultimate challenge and the ultimate rush, you know? Okay. It's like, dude, I might die today.
So you're growing up, again, feeling safe, feeling like I've got all my people, I'm good, everything's good. And so lo and behold, you seek out what's a bigger rush? What's a bigger, what's the greatest
ridiculous challenge? What is something, exactly. What is something that I'm just literally every single day just going to like live on the edge.
And so you lean into that. Okay.
And I just
right. Do you see
100%.
how, okay. I feel like, all right.
Yeah,
I understand,
makes sense.
Shannon. I get it. I get you. Okay. All right. So let's go to, so Stephanie, where does this idea, right? This idea of feeling good, feeling well. Again, where does that begin for you? Like bring us up, and then you're right. At some point, these stories merge. But what was that like for you?
Yeah. So for me, I grew up in the diverse, area of Los Angeles, California.
Yeah, we both did.
Like in the heart of the city, and, multicultural. And so I never really knew color lines or, everything was just beautiful to me when it came to people. So I've always loved people. There came a point in high school where I had to decide where I'm going to go to school and what I'm going to do next in life. And my dad really did a great job helping me navigate. Okay, so what's next in life?
Yeah.
And I knew I didn't want to go to school for the next 12 years. So like becoming a doctor or a psychologist was out, because I thought about, psychology. And I thought about teaching, because I love teaching people and helping that way. And I was like, but I want to make money. So nursing was like perfect. Like it wasn't a 9 to 5.
And again, is that like, as a kid, were you the person who like took care of your dolls? Were you the person, like, was there a nurse in your family?
As a
Was there
kid,
somebody,
I was just the little tomboy on the street who was like, I got what I wanted, and I was a negotiator, and I was a critical thinker, and I was a whiner. I was the squeaky wheel, and I still am. Like if I need to get,
I love how you're like all
done,
those things go together: negotiator, squeaky wheel, whiner.
It's just one big
100%.
Write that on the board.
Amazing.
But I use all these skills now today to make sure that the things that are most important to me, or that I see are critical or most important, and especially with what I do in nursing, that I use those tools now to get the job done, so to speak.
Yeah.
That makes me happy. That gives me satisfaction. So this need for mental wellness, I think it's like a big mashup and mix up of, I want to enjoy life. I want to experience life. And so what do I need to do to keep going and getting those things? And if I'm not in a good place, I don't go anywhere.
So as you're growing up, you're getting through this. I love that. And you really see that, like, I'm going to make what needs to happen, whether it's for me or it's for someone else. I'm going to get that thing.
That's right.
To happen. Is that right? Like negotiate it. It's just going to happen. So then to get into nursing, because you're like, again, what is that? Like was there a need? What was that for you? Did you see
it was this feeling
of,
it's this feeling of loving to work with people, loving to be a good helper. I know that for me, how they say it's better to give than to receive. There's so much truth in that for me when it comes to putting a smile on someone's face or hearing feedback like, thank you for making me so comfortable. Yeah. That feeds me. That's like, thank you. That's all I needed for today. I'm good. It really does fuel me. And so the more I can help, it's a selfish need. Like Shannon says, like finally gets to helping people, but it is this selfish need to feel like what I'm doing, if I'm going to work hard at something, it should be appreciated and acknowledged. Right. I'm a big rewards and recognition kind of person.
Do you know the Enneagram at all? Are you guys into that?
Yes. Remember
I don't remember what my number is, but
it was spot on.
I could take a stab at it.
It was so perfect.
Were you a 2? Stephanie, do you remember?
I think so.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So.
Yeah. Exactly right.
But
which is a lot about giving. I want to give. I'm going to make people feel loved and cared for, and the desire in return is, but are you going to notice it? Like all that, I don't need much, but like a card, thank you, like just acknowledge it. Acknowledge that I've done something here. And that's how kind of the love is received, I guess, in that. So
yeah, 100%. 100%. Hey, we're talking love language, it's acknowledgement.
Right. I mean, right.
Like she walks with a suitcase of acknowledgement like everywhere. She's like,
suitcase of acknowledgement. I like it.
Got another one.
Okay. And so how does that develop for you? So you get into nursing, like you step into that field and life, and you're like, this is it. This is the career. This is where I'm going.
Love it. Yeah. There have been several opportunities where we've done, business together, and had opportunities where financially, I could definitely walk away from nursing. And I've told him there's no way. I am not walking away from this. I don't care if it's only just 1 day a week.
Yeah.
This is where I need to be 1 day a week. And so that's like there's no compromise in that. What do they call that? There's
compromise.
No, there's a word for it though. Anyway, I'll think of it later.
Stable, stuck, not
Maybe.
non-negotiable. I don't know.
Non-negotiable.
There
That's
it
exactly
is.
what I'm thinking.
There
Come
it
on.
is. That works.
So this is fascinating. When did you two meet each other?
Okay, so this was not a Grey's Anatomy moment. I was not willing and impatient, banging on their chest and giving her a report. And she did, and all of a sudden the patient dies, and like we're locked eyes. That did not happen
Thank God.
whatsoever. Okay, let's get that out of the way, right?
Yep. Good.
No cliche.
I love that.
Not at all. Right. If you want my version, I'll tell you my version.
The
My
fast
version, yeah. This is the true fast version. So I had
the eye roll could be heard through the microphone. That's what just happened there. Okay.
So my cousin and I were like brothers. Like his dad and my dad grew up since they were like 0. So naturally we grew up like that, So not only, do I have siblings, but I also have like that couple of extended cousins that are just like right there. So anyway, we were having like the most epic summer. I had just moved back from Iraq. It was right before I was going to move or, like really go for my professional firefighting career. And I had an awesome little apartment to myself, and she got invited over by my cousin, and she walked in the door and she kind of looked around. And the first question she asked was, "Hey, where's your roommates?" Like, "Oh, your roommates, what are you talking about?" It's like, ting, check, right? The second one is like, "Wow, it's really clean around here." It's like, yes, already. 2 check, right? And then 3, my cousin, right? So I had a couch, then a love seat, right? Then my cousin and her are sitting on the love seat, and I was sitting on the couch, and this was the conversation the whole way. Like, I don't know where he went. It's only a 1 bedroom, but he disappeared into like the basement.
Sunk back into the couch cushions like a nickel.
Yeah,
that you're gonna find later.
100%, right? It's like those commercials, right, where they just like get sucked into the couch and they just kind of peek out. Yeah, it was that. So she came over, right? And it was just like, hey, this, it was a great conversation. Cool, nice, high five, great to meet you. But here's the crazy part though. Excuse me. The crazy part is we ran in the same circles in high school and never actually met. She knew all of my friends. I knew all of her friends. She was in my house, like in high school. Like it was, you know what I'm saying? Like the dynamic was crazy, right? The dynamic was crazy.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, finally, in our late 20s, mid 20s, it was just like, hey, I've heard of you, She's like, I've seen your picture at your parents' house. I was like, that's creepy. Really?
Yeah, right.
And then, yeah. And then
I've watched you from afar.
Yeah. And that's how we initially met,
And so I'm like, this is the thing. I could, if I was writing this story, a firefighter and a nurse get married. Like, what do you connect on? Well, we connect on our experiences. We connect on our desire to help other people. Or did you connect on something else?
No.
We connected on our love. We
connected on life.
Spirit of traveling.
Yeah, we connected on life.
Of just hanging out and having a good time. Of going to the beach. On our days off.
Like we weren't focused. So check this out. She was already a nurse for 5 years. Mm-hmm. So she was looking at me like she's already in Pitt. She's looking at me like, all right, when are you gonna get your career together?
And you said you come back from Iraq, so you were in the military.
Yeah. And that was actually, I was in Iraq after the military. So I was, just
private duty.
Yeah, just being a guy who wanted to do one more thing before I settled down, honestly. Because I was, I did 10 years worth of life by myself. Right. Yeah, okay. And then we met. So I was just kind of like, I finally got like all of that out of my system, And then we turned around and we met, and it's just like, hey, right? So
everything
we honestly
connects. Okay.
Yeah, we connected on. It wasn't on our days that we were working. It was like, oh my gosh, like we have tomorrow off. What are we going to do together?
Mm-hmm.
So okay, let's go in. Is that an experience? I mean, as you say, you're like, yeah, I wasn't a firefighter yet, but as you go forward, you're like, this is what I want to do and who I want to be. And even as through the marriage, as it's gone and grown, is it you come home from your shift, and I
Mhm.
want to talk about anything but what I just experienced.
Yeah, you know, that was a
And
lot
so-
of it.
That was most.
Let's
That
go to
was
the
most
beach.
days. Most days
Yeah.
we never shared. We never swapped stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there were some inevitable days that the story needed to be shared because nobody else in our circle could understand
Yeah.
unless
Yeah,
they
it's
were a
fascinating.
coworker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She could get it. She understood.
Yeah.
So it was an easy conversation, you know?
Yeah.
And then I got it with her, you know?
Mhm.
And I mean, you know, for us, like, I remember she was working in the pediatric ICU in Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. Okay. Like, just top of the
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
And I visited her one time and I was like, never again, you know? Even though I was in, like, that you would think I would, like, in that career field, you know, kind of in that, you know, same circle, but I was just like, it's just a completely different dynamic. But
Because
she still understood.
kids specifically, like what?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
yeah.
I took care of anywhere from, you know, almost newborn babies up to 18, sometimes plus if they had a pediatric type of disease process. It was trauma, it was cancer, it was transplants, it was everything in between. And I saw a lot and I dealt with a lot. And so
Yeah.
in that experience, when it came to like, especially trauma stuff, we definitely could connect and share
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
commonality of experience of emotion.
If we had to. Yeah. Cause it was
Yeah.
it was more of like, this is what I'm feeling,
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
necessarily like this is, you know, this is what happened. You know what I mean? Like it was
Okay,
more of
I
this, how
so know what you mean, and that is so key, so important to this
Yeah.
whole thing. And I think the way that you guys even tell your story and like in the book and everything, it's what's so important in storytelling and using
Yeah.
stories to connect is exactly what you just said, Shannon. Is it's about how I felt,
Yeah.
not so much about what happened.
Yes.
And if you can talk, like, this is the desire. This is why we connect to people. This is why you two connect. This is what you would connect on. I think it's just so
Yeah.
beautiful, and it's bang on with like the science of storytelling and why it stands out.
Yeah.
Is if you can identify and clarify the emotion, then it actually brings us together far more than simply telling the details of like, you wouldn't believe what I saw today.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
And that's a wow factor. You're like, what? Whoa, what did you experience? And what did you experience? And what's the craziest fire you ever went to? Like,
Oh, I hate
could
those
be
questions.
like that. Exactly.
I hate those
Because
questions.
you are sitting here going like, do you understand what we think?
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
yes, I'm busting through a wall and it's cool, but I'm doing it because my heart is driving me forward to save a life.
Literally.
Like, that's the feeling.
Yeah.
You want to talk
literally.
about that feeling, but people are
They
like,
don't equate that.
yeah,
They
or
don't
they're
equate
afraid
that.
to go there. Am I right?
Mhm.
Right.
So for you two to connect with each other on that level and recognize that we connected over the feelings of our experiences, I think is what has set you up so well now to connect with the world in these feelings. Again, you're not talking about, okay, when you're doing this or you're doing this, you're doing this. You're like, when you're feeling this, we get you.
Yeah. 100%.
And I think that brings up a good point. There, during that Dip Shannon experience, that level of communication was totally cut off. There was like this wall that had built up over time. And so that ability to connect and stay connected was lost. And so
what is that? Where
recognizing-
was that? Like when does that comes up in the story now? I guess I'm assuming we haven't really dove into that yet, but can we dive in?
Yeah, let's go.
I equate it to life was awesome until it wasn't, right? Like it literally that fast, you know? And once again, like we look great on paper.
Amazing.
Right? We look unbelievable on paper. We
look really good.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like
I'll put it in front of anybody.
You know, I'm a professional firefighter. She's a career nurse, right? Did I say that right?
No, it's a career.
It's a career
firefighter
firefighter,
and
professional nurse. She
nurse.
hates
I have a
I always get it
license.
wrong,
It's
right.
You're a professional if you have a license.
It's like there and there. Sometimes I do it on purpose, but under that, So anyway, so we had, so we've got our full blown careers. We've got 2 beautiful kids. We just bought our, we were a couple of years into our brand new house. Within all of this, we decided, hey, let's go build a business. You know what I mean? Inside all of this. So we wound up building a business, and in 30 months, grew it to multiple millions and then sold it for, a crazy amount of money.
A good profit.
Yeah.
And all while he's going to school full time.
All while I'm going to school full time for my degree.
Working full time. I'm working full time. And
Why
our kids
not?
were toddlers.
Right.
How many years ago was this?
This is just, let me see.
About 5 years ago.
Well, if we're in the middle of it all, it's about 3 or 4. Because think about it, because we sold in 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah, so about 3 or 4 years.
So this is what's, again, so interesting with the way that you're telling this story now.
Yeah.
Each of the things that you just listed off in that 42 seconds was a significant life moment.
Yeah.
We had 2 kids. We started a business over 30 months, sold it for $1 million. Like any of those could be the story.
Yeah.
But you're just flinging them off like it's nothing because you're getting to something else. And I just think that's so interesting that we can look at these moments as this is it. This is the defining, this is going to be so big. How does this change our family? And then here you are, you're like, and then.
Yeah.
So you check off these boxes, right? And that's where I go back to, if you're not in a good head space, if your mental wellness is lacking, how do you enjoy that? So you don't even hear us celebrate that. It's cool. And we only give it a couple seconds of attention because we're not really looking for the accolades, because that really wasn't it for us. What was it for us was reconnecting. That was it.
Yeah.
And so in that process of Shannon being angry all the time, disengaged with the family and friends that he used to be super tight with, not wanting to go anywhere at any time for any reason, always like every social engagement or any engagement alone was a drink in the hand. Always being tired. And these are like the signs and symptoms of what he was dealing with, but I didn't have a name for it, and neither did he. And then there came a point where he realized and recognized he needed help and said, "Hey, I have to talk to you." So
what was that? How does that happen? What a point where you realize that, what brings you to that point?
It was a point for me where I just had to come to grips with myself, like where my mind and my body were just completely disconnected, and
is there a moment like this is, I want to get as specific as you can. Like, was it like I'm standing on the beach and realize something? Is it I'm on the floor in the bathroom? Like where?
I'll tell you what it is. It started with a purple stroller. Okay. And our daughter, Nina, my mom's
That's a chapter title right there.
That's good. Yeah. It's the purple stroller. Okay. And it's actually, I have this during the book. So it was one morning I came home. I think I was on like a 72-hour shift. So I didn't get any sleep, Steph went to work. So it's kind of like, we were in that high five moment, two shifts. Right. Mom was busy, so she didn't have the kids, so it was me. Okay. So I come home, start off good, everything's well. Like the kids are like what, 2 and 3, something like that, right?
Little.
Yeah, they're younger. And so Steph leaves, and I'm like, all right, sweet, I got the kids. Okay. Made them breakfast, we're having a good time, music's on, just enjoying the morning. And then for whatever reason, and you can attest to this, kids are just being kids, right? We have 1 million toys, and they're all standing in front of them, and they both want the one. And they both wanted the stroller. It's Nina's stroller, but Shannon loves pushing it. Okay, fine. So, so they're just going back and forth. She's got the handle, he's got the front. I mean, they're babies almost, they're just back and forth. And I'm letting it go, and I'm letting it go, and I'm tying it out, and I'm letting it go. And then their voice escalated just enough, and then that's when I just completely snapped. And I went over there, and I snatched the stroller out of their hand, and I put it over my head 3 times, just bam, as hard as I can, bam, bam. And I threw it across the room, and I looked at them, and I just said, "There, now nobody gets to play with it," like at the top of my voice.
Right. And
I looked at their faces together, and it was just pure fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that I'm breathing over them, and I'm just like, I'm just like that just monster on top of them, And 2 seconds, it felt like an eternity. 5 seconds later, I realized it, And I walked into the room and I closed the door. And I mean, at this point, they're screaming at the top of their lungs. I walked in our room, I closed the door, and I sat on our chair and I just freaking bawled, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I just lost it.
Shannon's not a crier.
You know.
So I almost didn't even believe him when he said that
Right.
to me later, much later.
Yeah, did
And
it
now-
come like later at the end of your shift? You come home and you hear the story, or was this
Oh, no,
days later that Stephanie heard?
She didn't know until I wrote the book.
Years later.
She didn't know that story. And I'm gonna tell you right now, because more than anything, it was embarrassing, you know?
Mhm.
And I mean, she asked, right? Because at the time, you know, I mean, our kids are, you know, unbelievably smart, but Nina and Shannon couldn't connect daddy breaking the stroller. So the story was never told. Okay. So I just basically told her something happened, you know, I tried to get it figured out and it's not working right. So, you know what I mean? So I held a lie about a stroller because of the embarrassment for a while. Like I'm talking about a couple of years. And then it was,
and this is what's so fascinating about that. Just, I want to hear that in just a second, but there's this, like, you, as you say that, you caused fear in your kids' lives, but like for years you have been somebody that like is trying to distill fear. Like you're going into scary situations and trying to pull other people out of it.
Yeah.
Right. And in this one, you're the fire, you're the cause.
100%.
Shoot.
And so the signs are there. Like the kids didn't want to be around him. So like I didn't know that story, but I knew that if I took the kids out for the day because he didn't want to go with us, and we were on our way home, they would ask, is daddy home? And if they asked if daddy was home and I said yes, they like cried. That broke my heart.
Yeah.
It was.
Does that I mean, red flags start showing up? Like what?
Huge.
Like
Yeah. So it was mounting, and you know, I would ask him, are you okay? And I would check in, like a light check-in, but then there would be these little things that would cause him to, you know, start a fight with me. So that caused this wall to build up. So it was almost like, I don't even want to know. Like, I'm sure he's tired or he needs to get a paper done or whatever. And I just stopped asking and I just kept doing. So I did what I needed to do for me and the kids, and I let him do his thing. But when he recognized he needed help and stopped and asked me for it, it changed everything for me. And that's when I knew, I recognized I needed to intervene. I needed to seek out help on his behalf because he wasn't going to be able to do it. And I needed to start learning how to communicate with him in a way that he felt heard so that he didn't get defensive with me, because I think that's what was happening. And so I would be mad. I'd be upset that he wouldn't hear me out and he would just need to share his side of the story all the time.
Yeah.
And I figured out that if I heard him and I made him comfortable enough to trust me, then we could start having dialogue again. And that's exactly what happened over the course of probably, I'd say, the next 6 months after he said, I need help.
It's amazing how I've talked about this before, kind of like how the dip turns into the climax.
Yeah.
You know? The dip in the story. You look at this as like the worst. This is the hardest.
Yeah.
How were we ever going to get through this? And if you just flip that upside down, then you realize that's actually the point.
Is where it starts.
That's the top of that's the top of the arc, right? Yeah. And then we go through that to get to where we are now.
Yeah.
Where closer than ever, open, authentic, and not only helping ourselves and our marriage here, but more importantly, turning this energy outward to help others go through this, experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder and really reach their best self.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because, you know, just 3-4 short years ago, like people would, you know, and I mean, I'm not saying it to brag, but, you know, people would have killed for our position, you know, on paper, right? But all of the things that we didn't have then were the intangibles, right? Like just to have a fun date night, you know, just to have a great conversation, just to sit on the couch and watch Game of Thrones and not
nice
being
easy
interrupted.
show. Just,
you know, yeah. Just a nice lighthearted,
something light.
something easy, you know, just to have that and not feel like you could cut the tension with the machete. You know what I mean? Like the intangible things were the things that we didn't have before and we have now. And you can't take that from us. And then the intangible, and then the tangible things, the money and this and all that other stuff, it's like, that's coming back again.
Right.
But I would 10 times much rather be right here.
Yeah.
Because the foundation is so much more solid. And it's not like we didn't have a solid foundation. We had an unbelievable foundation. It was just what came was like a freaking hurricane that we were not prepared for.
Right.
We're gonna kind of land the plane here and wrap up the story as it is. But one thing jumps out to me here, and I think Stephanie, you were kind of like, I needed to create a safe space. I need to be somebody. I need to build that trust so that he could hear. And what we were talking about earlier is what you guys meet on or talk about was the feelings, right? Not what happened, but the feelings. And so as Shannon's going through this, and Stephanie, you're like, I don't know what he's going through, but he's going through. There's something in there where, correct me if I'm wrong, but you aren't meeting. You don't understand. You didn't feel like you were feeling the same things then.
Right.
Am I right? And so it was this effort of, again, trying to now actually like really empathize with each other's feelings that maybe you weren't naturally feeling. Is that right?
I could take me out of the situation. And that was really a pivotal moment for me in being able to process and move forward. It was no longer about, because in your mind, you can tell yourself a story. If you don't have the full picture in front of you, you can start filling in the gaps with these lies.
For sure.
And so it was like, maybe he's not a family man. Maybe he doesn't love having kids. Maybe he doesn't love me anymore. Maybe. And I'm just thinking these things and not saying them out loud because I think there's a lot of power in the tongue, right? And certain things you bring out, maybe they become true, or maybe you make it happen some way or another. So I'm not saying these things out loud, but I'm thinking it. At that moment that I recognized this wasn't about me, it was about Shannon and what he's going through, and it has nothing to do with me. I need to help him get on this path to wellness. That's when I could show up and not personalize the arguments anymore. Like the dirty dishes in the sink from breakfast that are still there at lunch, and he's upset about it. Like, I just didn't get offended. I was like, it's what it is.
Right.
We'll talk about what's really going on in a minute. So it allowed me to stop engaging in those little bickering and arguments that would turn into bigger fights, and start really engaging with where he was at and how I could help.
I mean, you got to be honest too. Like we were legitimately, even though we didn't use the word divorce, like, dude, there's a point in time where I had like one piece of clarity in my mind, and I told her flat out. I just like stopped her right in the middle. You know, she was walking in the room or something, and I told her, I said, listen, if you leave me, I will not blame you. And I just kept walking, you know. And I was like, all right, there you go.
Yeah,
it's on you now. And I wouldn't have. Because we were literally like, it was like one foot out of the door, the other foot on a banana peel every single day. Like, don't get it twisted. Like as much as we love hard, dude, we fight hard. Okay. I mean, these were full blown dragons in the sky. You know what I'm saying? Giants coming out, pulling down the wall. Like, it was a battle, right? My army versus yours, war going.
You're really into Game of Thrones, aren't you?
My army against yours, we're going.
Yeah.
You know, like, it wasn't just like, oh, he's not feeling good. No, dude, it was bad for years.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because people probably could see around us like things weren't great, but they really had no idea.
They didn't understand the scope.
Like, they really had no idea what was going on at home. And
that goes back into communication, because we still wanted to, hey, we got to get this figured out. We're not going to drag a bunch of people into our mess.
Yeah, we didn't bring a bunch of people in.
We got to do something.
But I feel like that's where we come in now, current, with landing the plane is, it's important to recognize where your resources are at.
Yeah.
Because sometimes family and friends aren't your best ally and sharing something
No.
this deep.
No.
And you kind of need to go with somebody who has that experience over the book smarts
Mhm.
to help you get through this kind of situation.
Yeah.
Somebody who's going to be unbiased, somebody who's going to give you good tools and not steer you away from each other, but steer you
Mhm.
towards each other.
It's not a
And
therapy
back to that.
session. It's
Yeah.
literally just like, let's tell you what we did.
We're not
Yeah.
therapists. We're not licensed
This is raw.
therapists. But what we are is experienced in going through the worst of communication and marriage and mental illness and navigating mental wellness. And it doesn't mean that PTSD is gone or depression is totally gone or anxiety is totally gone, but it means that we have received some tools and really implement and use them on a daily basis now. And I say we because I'm Shannon's wife. So if he's going through it, I'm on the recipient end of whatever he's projecting out.
Mhm.
I recognize earlier what's happening. I'm recognizing triggers now, and I have the tools to help kind of steer the ship back to course
Yeah.
on a daily basis. And we do this every day. And some days start out super awesome and they end super awesome. And some days start out kind of sucky and we change course and they end great, or vice versa. And so, but it's a daily thing that we do together.
So you guys have that partnership and that's phenomenal. And if somebody comes to you and they don't have a partner in that sort of context to do that with, you two get to become that person for them that starts to recognize the signs or to be that, or you have couple come to you and then you get to teach them, okay, when this happens, that means this, and then they create that. And again, I just think there's so much. So the reason we go into this whole story and ask about who were you before and all of that, it all feeds together. It all to me becomes so clear that you were these people who knew you were going to help others. You had this Shannon had this massive community of support and love and friendship and kindness growing up. And then you both go into these fields where you're like, we're gonna help people. What do you mean? Of course. But also we're gonna experience everything that life has together. So we are, you two, from the beginning all the way through, and in this marriage, you've been the ones who help others and want to experience it all. So of course, you have experienced it all, like all of it. You don't just get the sunshine, you got to get the nighttime, right? You know what I mean? Like you all of it already in your life and marriage. And there's this shift that happened again. So here we are helping others, even and it trying to experience. And then, as I say, you have that purple stroller moment. You have that moment where all of a sudden I'm not helping. I'm not helping here anymore. And when you realize that, now it's actually, what did you have to do? And Stephanie said it, when he asked for help, that's when everything changed. So now there's this, we're helping other people, but then you start to ask for help, you receive it, and now you're equipped to go and help others. And it's this
100%.
beautiful story of from helping others to helping ourselves.
Back to helping others
so
again.
we can help others. And I just think that there's so many people out there that need to hear this, that are consistently putting every ounce of energy they have out into the world because they think that, oh, I'm here for a mission, I've got to do this thing, I'm here to help others, but you're burning yourself down to the ground, to the nub.
And it's very humbling. It's very humbling. And I think it's a good reminder of like, life isn't perfect and it doesn't have to be, but you can still make it great every day. And you have an opportunity and you have a choice in it. Now, if you want to stay stuck, that's your choice and that's perfectly fine. And that's up to you. But do you want to stay miserable? You don't have to suffer. We're here to compress time frames and get that suffering down to the most minimal amount of time and help you maximize your joy.
We want others to experience what they want to experience. You know what I mean? Like, it's just going back to like, at the same time, you can't measure trauma, like Steph was saying earlier. You can't measure success either, at all. Like, your success is what you want it to be. So we're here to help you get to where you want to be, not where we think you should be.
Right.
It's
not
like,
about us.
It's not about us at all. It's just like, hey, listen, these are just basic foundational principles and tools that you can use every single day, and compress your time frames, and let's see where you're going to be here, you know?
And this is what I
And let's
love,
just go.
like the way that you frame this, and PTSD is kind of that's the baseline, going through this story is like, that's the hum note that's always there.
Yeah, it's always there.
That has been there, but you're like, but for you, and the book says this, PTSD is pushing towards success daily, the way that you're going in this. And I just love that mantra. I love that encouragement and that really clear line of what you do and how you help. And so I'm celebrating. I love it. I'm so thankful for you sharing your story and doing exactly, we started talking about Tim at the beginning of this, and how you're done talking with him. When he's done talking, you feel like you could run through a brick wall. Why? Because he painted a really clear picture of how he or other people have done that. Yeah. And that's exactly what you just did for us today, was paint a really clear picture of when you find yourself here, it's possible to get here. Yeah. And if you need help with that, call us.
We're here.
Get in touch with us. So here's the invitation, right? So when somebody feels like they are just going through their life and they're burning down to the ground, they know it's just a matter of time, because they're just consistently pouring out their energy and helping others. And they know that it's time to help themselves. How can they connect with you? What's the best way to find you and start that conversation?
So we've got
our social media page. Our Instagram page is Shannon and Stephanie.
Yeah.
So it's
just like that, just spelled out.
Shannon and Stephanie, and Stephanie's with a PH on Instagram.
Great.
They could email Shannon at ptsd.com,
PTSD.academy.
.academy, sorry.
Yeah.
.academy.
Yeah. This is gonna be a full-blown thing, Alex. Like, this is, you know what I mean? Like, this is,
and if they want to reach out to the resources that we have available to them and get that in their hands immediately, our book and our e-course are available right now on ptsd.academy.
Great.
ptsd.academy. So they can go online. You can find us on Target's bookstore. You can find us at Amazon's bookstore and a number of other places. So
brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it.
We're excited, brother. Thank you.
Thank you for having
us. This is awesome. This is great.
Started off with, thank you for the authenticity. I would expect nothing less, considering it's already out there, written in the book. And so, if you're listening to this, obviously you're going to go and get the book right now, so you can really dive into all the details of all this story. And if you feel like in any way you need help, then don't wait and reach out to these two right now, and they will either help you immediately or help you find the resources that you need. And I'm just so grateful to have you here, to have your story be shared, and have you doing the work that you're doing right now. So thank you.
We are your mental wellness tour guides.
We are.
That's what we are.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much.